So now we're looking at poetry practice part 2, and I'm looking at something else they tend to do. If you go back through the history, they do this every 2 to 3 years. And it is possible they will do it this year, which is that they will give you 2 poems at the same time. And you say, oh no, what happens if I do that? Understand, if they pick 2 poems at the same time, they've done that for a very specific reason. Those 2 poems are chosen extraordinarily carefully. There's some connection. And if you look at what it says here, it says in the following 2 poems, adults provide explanations for children. Read the poems carefully, then write an essay in which you compare and contrast the 2 poems, analyzing how each poet uses literary devices to make his point. Now, what are we looking at? We're looking at A Barred Owl by Richard Wilbur and The History Teacher by Billy Collins. If you want to stop the video for a second to look up those poems, great idea. So it tells you in the instructions what you should be looking for, because what it understands is because it gave you 2 poems, you have a lot more work to do, but you still have the same amount of time. So when it tells you something like adults provide explanations for children, they've given you context. When they ask you to compare and contrast, don't get too bogged down in that because you have a limited amount of time. So it already kind of told you what the comparison is. The comparison is both of these poems are poems that where adults provide explanations for children. Great. Obviously, if they're telling you to contrast, those explanations might be a little bit different. Okay, that being said, let's read through the 2 poems and see why they are what they are. So, in A Barred Owl by Richard Wilbur. The warping night air having brought the boom of an owl's voice into her darkened room, we tell the wakened child that all she heard was an odd question from a forest bird, asking of us, if rightly listened to, who cooks for you? And then who cooks for you? Words which can make our terrors bravely clear can also thus domesticate a fear and send a small child back to sleep at night, not listening for the sound of stealthy flight or dreaming of some small thing in a claw borne up to some dark branch and eaten raw. Start with the title, okay? When we have this title here of A Barred Owl, obviously this has something to do with the idea of an owl. So why is it there? Well, we've barred it somehow, as if we said, get out of here, owl. Then you realize, what's the explanation that's happening in this poem? They're lying to the child. Instead of the owl that goes, who, they're just saying, it says, who cooks for you? So that the child will go back to sleep. What we always want to do, what's the title and what's literally happening in the poem. This was a case where we could do that. Then we have the history teacher. So we start here. Okay, we've got our title. We say, all right, well, this must be about a history teacher. What's going to happen in this poem? And this is an adult providing an explanation to children. Trying to protect his students' innocence. Now you start right here with this line. I like the fact that Collins opens with trying. That he says he's trying, which indicates he's probably failing. He told them the Ice Age was really just the Chilly Age, a period of 1,000,000 years when everyone had to wear sweaters. And the Stone Age became the Gravel Age, named after the long driveways of the time. The Spanish Inquisition was nothing more than an outbreak of questions, such as, how far is it from here to Madrid? Or what do you call the matador's hat? The War of the Roses took place in a garden, and the Enola Gay dropped one tiny atom on Japan. The children would leave his classroom for the playground to torment the weak and the smart, mussing up their hair and breaking their glasses while he gathered up his notes and walked home past flower beds and white picket fences, wondering if they would believe that soldiers in the Boer War told long, rambling stories designed to make the enemy nod off. Perfect. They're both similar. They have adults providing explanations to children. They both are about adults lying to children in an attempt to protect them. So you could have very easily, is perfect for a thesis right here, because you can have a while and then kind of thesis. What's the difference? The difference is in the outcomes. And therein lies some kind of meaning. Because at some point, you're still going to have to provide a meaning. Because how each literary device, how each poet uses them to make his point, his meaning. That always has to be there. And I said this in the last video. You're getting it done or you're not getting it done. If you can't provide a meaning, you're not getting it done. And now you're going to be locked into the 2, maybe if you're lucky 3 range. But if you can get a meaning and make references to it, you're guaranteed 3, probably 4. And in a case like this, if you can get into real complexity between these 2, now you're in 5 or 6 territory. Okay, but that's how you handle it. If they pick the 2 obviously have something in common, but they also have something that makes them different, but there's a larger meaning, and you have to be able to tie the 2 together. And that's where creating a thesis statement of while this, then this. While they're similar because they contrast in this, there's got to be meaning there. And it's got to be more than just plot summary. All right, work with those, see the assignment. See you on the next time.